This is an offseason we've all been waiting for a long time because the Giants had so many players coming off the books and therefore they had a lot of freed up money. And so on today's mailbag edition of Locked On Giants, we're going to talk about what are they going to do with that money? We have questions about should they sign Carlos Correa? Very clearly the top free agent still available. Yes, we're in a lockout, but once things get unfrozen, Correa, does he fit the Giants? They certainly have the funds to be able to pull that off. So we'll talk about that and so much more on today's Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants Baseball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, and I'm a lifelong fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms, also now including YouTube, so check us out there if you haven't already. And coming up on today's show, we're going to do a mailbag. So thank you so much for all the great questions submitted on Twitter. The first question comes from Cobert, who for the second week in a row asked the same question, and I will get to it now. Didn't get to it last week, but Cobert says, should the Giants be in on Carlos Correa? He is one of the only players that has all the traits that the Giants like since Bryce Harper: plate discipline, strikeout rate, defense, and power. He is willing to play third base, and Longoria's 1 year should not affect his free agent fit. Drew also talks about Correa, asking why not Carlos Correa? He's still young. He's an impact bat that we need to replace Buster. He's a premium defender that has said he's open to playing third in the right situation. And he'd be a great mentor for the young phenom Marco Luciano. So here we go. We're going to answer this question. And it's tough to answer, but like if I'm just saying, should the Giants bring Carlos Correa to their team, would he make them better? Of course he'd make them better. Of course he is a great fit in that regard. And where it gets a little bit weird, like the backstory, of course, that so many of you are aware of, is that we knew they had all this money coming off the books this offseason. We knew it was this superstar kind of free agent class of shortstops. And then Crawford had this great season, and in the middle of the year, they extend him to a 2-year, $32 million extension. And I've asked this question before, like, did it surprise me a little bit that they went out and signed a shortstop when this was the year with all this elite talent in the shortstop market when they had all this money to spend? And the answer for me was yes, a little bit, but it completely makes sense because Crawford had just such a great season. I mean, he had a season that was on par with what Correa was able to do this year. And Correa is going to get $300 million and Crawford 2 years, $32 million. So with that said, that's the only reason that I would say it's not necessarily the best fit is because Correa is a shortstop and the Giants have a shortstop. But as Cobert and Drew said there, Correa has expressed a willingness to play third base in the right situation. I don't remember the exact quote, but he's also said he prefers to play short, but like would consider third. Maybe, honestly, he might only be saying that so that more teams would be involved, and then ultimately he'd want to sign with a team that lets him play short. Although, when all is said and done, he'll probably sign with the team that offers him the best contract. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to have his production on the Giants. I think there's no question about it. He is an impact player. He's had some durability concerns. I remember going into the year, it'd be interesting. I would find it interesting to go back and listen to what I had to say about this shortstop class coming into the year, because we were trying to rank them and consider who was the best kind of the 5 or so superstar young talented shortstops. And I remember people were undervaluing Correa, I thought, because he was coming off a very much down short season in 2020. And my point was that, hey, it was a small sample. Otherwise, in his career, for the most part, he's been a monster. And it'll be interesting to see how people are looking at him when the season is done. Well, he had a great season, and now people view him as arguably the top free agent in this entire class. And a guy who's probably, I mean, you just look at what Corey Seager was able to get, and I think you should just basically draw a straight line between Correa and Seager and say 10 years, $325 million is roughly what Correa should get. Maybe there's a little bit, I mean, they both have durability and injury histories, so I'm not sure there. But anyway, the point is he is a great player. And as Colbert mentioned, he doesn't strike out a lot. He hits for power. He plays elite defense. And yeah, I mean, Evan Longoria is under contract for just one more season. And if you have a chance to bring in a Carlos Correa, you can figure out what to do with Longoria. I mean, for crying out loud, you could try to move Longoria to second base and have him platoon with La Stella there. I'm sure Longoria wouldn't love that, but it would unquestionably make the Giants better. And they do have all this freed up money. The one question, and I can't believe I haven't mentioned it yet, is kind of the character thing, because Correa is kind of a little bit of a self-proclaimed villain. And there's, of course, the Astros cheating scandal. And he a little bit is the face of that to me. Maybe it's Jose Altuve for you. Maybe it's somebody else. But Correa was the guy kind of answering questions in the media. He's kind of been the guy who's had some things to say about people's reactions to the Astros. So the Giants have this whole only good guys, like no jerks, whatever thing. And they have this great kind of team first mentality, and everybody's kind of humble. So Correa is not really of that mold. He's a star, and he knows he's a star, and he likes to kind of have attention. But at the same time, like Colbert mentioned, they went after Bryce Harper hard. They went, 12 years, $310 million with their offer. So, I mean, when the talent is there, you might be willing to deal with whatever. I'm not saying it's baggage necessarily. In some ways, it's something the Giants haven't had in a long time, just kind of a star who knows he's a star and acts like it. Their stars, Posey is like one of the most humble superstars of all time. And so I don't know. That would be kind of my one hesitation, is the positional fit. But that's something, again, like you said, Colbert, you can work around. And when you have a chance to add this much talent, you figure out a way. And the other thing is the cheating scandal, and just kind of the personality, and is it a fit in that clubhouse, especially if he's displacing Longoria, so it could create some tension right away. So I don't know necessarily, but yeah, I mean, when we look at who's left, I might have preferred Seager, honestly, but he's gone. So when we're talking about who's left, yeah, I mean, Correa is the big dog of the remaining free agents. So anyway, more questions coming up next. But first, this holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar, Built Bar. Filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, tasty and delicious. There's also so many flavors that I promise you will have a hard time choosing. Will you go with raspberry or mint brownie, cherry or double chocolate, cookies and cream, or peanut butter? Built Bar gives you that extra fuel you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers. Go to BuiltBar.com right now and use promo code LOCKED15, and you can get 15% off your next order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. I've been hearing a lot about Stance apparel lately, especially because they just launched a new line of active apparel. Plus, it's holiday gift-giving time, and stance is the coolest gift you can give. They're incredibly comfortable and well made, with socks, shirts, and joggers, and hoodies, all of which meet that criteria. Founded in 2009, Stance Apparel represents a radical reinvention of socks, underwear, and active apparel. With a sharp focus on comfort, quality, and creativity, Stance brings an atypical aesthetic alongside some of pop culture's hottest collaborators for the ultimate in style and self-expression. Because everything you wear should be a direct expression of who you are and how you feel. Some of my favorite collaborations include Star Wars, The Office, Harry Potter. They've also got Major League Baseball collaborations. So Stance believes the perfect fit matters more than fitting in. That those who feel good do good. Go see for yourself. Register for an account at stance.com and get 15% off your first order. Use promo code LOCKEDON, one word, at checkout to apply. Enjoy the color and comfort of a life less ordinary with Stance. Okay, here we go. We're going to get to more questions, and I will provide answers to the best of my ability to those questions. I hope I answered the Correa question. It's like, of course we're in a lockout, so you couldn't have this happen today or tomorrow. But I was going to say, if I found out the Giants are signing Carlos Correa, I would go into a freakout. I would be ecstatic, and I think that he would immediately make the Giants so much better than they currently are. Of course, he's a great player. He's had a lot of success in the postseason. Great defender. Could definitely play third, given he's got a cannon of an arm, and he's a very, very good baseball player. So I would love to have Carlos Correa on the Giants. We shall see. It would be awesome if they kind of entered into that mix as a dark horse candidate to sign Correa, because on paper, there's not a fit at short and there's not necessarily a fit at third with Longoria. But yeah, you make that move. He would be a huge upgrade over Longoria. So anyway, Burrito Man asks, likelihood the Giants bring back Kris Bryant. So it's hard for me to put, an exact likelihood on it. Of course, you're not asking me for exact, but I would say, like, when I was thinking about this question earlier, I was thinking 20%, maybe that's too high. Maybe it's 15%, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 0, but I don't think it's like 50%. Part of the reason is I just think, as we saw, the production hasn't necessarily matched up with the expectation that you have when you think of Kris Bryant. You think of a star player. You hear the name Kris Bryant. You hear the name Carlos Correa. You think maybe both are superstar players in our game, but my expectation for Bryant moving forward is much lower than it is for Correa. And so a lot of it is going to depend, and we heard Farhan Zaidi say this at their end of season press conference, that Bryant is a star player and he's going to have a lot of competition. There's going to be a lot of competition for his services. And so if that's true, and there's a lot of competition, and Bryant is ultimately able to get the type of contract I'm sure he wants, I'm not sure that the Giants would want to go there. They had a first-hand look at the good, not great production of Kris Bryant. So who knows? I have said this recently that, he was a superstar in the first few years of his career, but he's kind of fallen back a level, and I'm just not sure what to expect moving forward. Could he get back to those superstar levels? Of course he could, but will he? That is the question, especially as he ages, right? Are you banking on him getting better with age, or is this the new normal? And so, yeah, it would kind of depend on if his price falls a little bit more into what, matching up with the expected production versus matching up with the big name brand recognition of a Kris Bryant. So, yeah, I think that there are some odds of that happening, and he could kind of fall into the Giants' laps if the price is right. So if it's in the $150 million range, I would expect him elsewhere. But if it drops down closer to $100 million over maybe 5 years, I think that there could be a fit there with the San Francisco Giants. And he would certainly make the current Giants better also. There's no question about it. So next question comes from Samuel, who asks, This was the offseason we've all been waiting for from a spending standpoint. Obviously, there's a different direction. Where do you see the Giants' payroll compared to the league during this new era? So, yeah, I mean, that ties in with the first question about Correa, and I also kind of teased this one in the opening, but it's true. This was an offseason we've all been waiting for and expecting. To me, it was the shortstop class, but then Brandon Crawford reinventing himself into an MVP type talent. I mean, he literally finished third in MVP voting. I'm not saying I would expect that again entering his age 35 season, but yeah, it kind of changed for me the were they hunting for a shortstop, because the shortstop class being so good and the Giants having all this freed up money happened at the same time that Crawford was supposed to reach free agency. But Crawford reinvented himself, and compared to what these other shortstops are getting, Crawford's 2-year, $32 million contract looks ridiculous because it's so much smaller than they're basically getting. They got like Seager and Correa production, and they're committing 2 years, $32 million. So that's very much tying into your question, which is like we've all been waiting for spending, and obviously there's a different direction. But your main question is, where do you see the Giants' payroll compared to the league during the new era? I would expect them, when all is said and done, to at least get back to roughly where they were at last year, which was $162 million, according to Roster Resource, which is on Fangraphs. And so currently they're at $126 million. That is counting a $3 million buyout of Buster Posey's option. I am not sure that should be counted, or if they're even going to have to pay that at all. So, even if you take off $3 million, you're at roughly $125 million. So they're still significantly far away, 35 plus million away per year from where they were last year. So I would still very much expect them to be in the top 10 and probably beyond that eventually. There's been a lot said about the Giants' payroll and that Farhan Zaidi is kind of cheap and all that, blah, blah, blah. But I don't, it's December. The offseason isn't over. We can judge what the payroll is during the season, but also additions during the year count too. Like trading for Kris Bryant, that's an added part of their payroll. It wasn't the whole contract, but clearly, I mean, they pushed the chips in the middle with the Kris Bryant trade, and I would expect them to continue to do this. I don't think they're going to be focused more on payroll than winning. I think the number one focus is going to be winning. So I would expect them to eventually be a bully financially, and if the opportunity is there to improve and get better, I think that the sky is the limit in terms of the payroll. So I think the Dodgers, who are way up there and often north of 200 million, I don't see any reason why the Giants couldn't act similarly to the Dodgers. Like if a Mookie Betts extension becomes a realistic possibility for the Giants, I feel like they would do that. They wouldn't just be like, no, we don't want a Mookie Betts because we're more interested in saving money. The other thing is they do have a good farm system, and eventually players are going to come in and they need to be able to pay those players to retain them as those players get more expensive. And so that's part of the equation too that I don't think gets considered enough, is that when you have a good farm system and good homegrown talent, you need to be able to pay those guys eventually. And so you need to kind of be mindful of that. Not every payroll addition is coming through free agency. So anyway, coming up next, more questions and answers. But first, BetOnline has you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues the march to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, here we go. We are going to get to the last little round of questions here before we wrap up for the weekend. Baseball Junkie. This is kind of a continuation of these same questions. There's a lot of questions that fall into a similar category, so everybody's kind of thinking along the same lines. But Baseball Junkie says, do you ever see the Giants making a big 10-year, $300 million plus deal? And if so, which player would that be in the future? So obviously this is tough to say. Carlos Correa, if they were to sign him this offseason, which I would not think is the most likely outcome, but certainly it's a possibility with the Giants. They have the deep pockets to do so. And so, I mean, he would be the first guy. If there was going to be a guy this offseason, it would be Carlos Correa. And I've looked through next year's free agent class, and this is actually, I'm going to mention another question now and tie this in also. Sumas asks, with so much payroll flexibility in the coming years and a rising farm system, when do you think we sign a cornerstone player in free agency? Which upcoming free agents stand out to you? So I looked through next year's free agent class to think about both questions, a 10-year, $300 million deal. I think both of these questions are basically the same. And there isn't really a guy next year who stands out in the same mold as, a mid-20s player like Correa. I'm not sure I mentioned in the answer about Correa that he's 27 years old. So again, Colbert, I agree with you. The Harper comparisons are pretty strong, including the kind of questionable character is not, I wouldn't want to just throw them under the bus like that, but they're kind of big personalities and kind of somewhat me first seeming players from the outside looking in. But anyway, I don't know. I don't remember exactly where I was going with that, but next year in free agency, I don't see that type of player. So if you're looking for a deal like that, I don't think it's going to happen next year. One guy who does stand out when I look at next year's class is Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, obviously star player, but he's going to be a little bit older entering free agency, 31 years old. And the thing is, he did grow up a Giants fan. He has, he idolized Barry Bonds, grew up a Giants fan. So bring Aaron Judge home maybe, but he's not going to command a 10-year, $300 million deal. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the Giants don't feel comfortable with that kind of monster long-term commitment. Although, again, they did offer 12 years, $310 million to Harper. But Judge is not going to command that deal given his injury history and his age. But, yeah, it's a relatively weak free agent class next season. There's a lot of good players who could be free agents, but teams hold club options. So, for example, Jose Ramirez is not going to be a free agent because there's a club option. Sonny Gray, not going to be a free agent because there's a club option. And there are several others as well. Xander Bogaerts actually could opt out, so it's not a club option. But there are Max Muncy, club option. So a lot of players are right there, but not actually going to become free agents. So I don't know. It could be, like the Dodgers when they got Mookie Betts, it was a trade for Mookie Betts and then extend him. We've seen that a lot, kind of more recently. Francisco Lindor was traded for by the Mets and then they extended him before a game was even played. So you could see it that way, and it's tough for me. I'd have to look around the league and see Jose Ramirez is a guy people mention a lot. And man, would he be a great fit for the Giants, especially, third base. He can play second and third. Great fit, but what would you have to give up for a Jose Ramirez given his cheap contract? And I think there's 2 club options, one for 2022 or one for 2023 and one for 2024. No, it's just one club option. So it's definitely possible that at some point, if the Guardians don't think they can extend Jose Ramirez, that they may feel inclined to trade him like they did with Lindor, in which case I would hope the Giants would be all over that because Ramirez is my favorite player. Jose Ramirez is a star. He's not a big guy at all. He's 5'9", I bet you that's an exaggeration. Just a superstar talent. And yeah, I mean, you could trade for a Jose Ramirez and extend him, but given his age, he's probably not going to command 10 years either. So I don't know. It's really hard to guess. But in free agency, at this point, this year or next, it would basically be Correa, or else nobody else is getting 10 years, 300 million plus. But it could be, Marco Luciano. Maybe he arrives and plays like a star, and he's the guy the Giants give a massive contract to. So we just don't know. But hopefully I provided some context there for the different possibilities. Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It is free and available on all platforms as well. Once again, my name is Ben. Check me out on Twitter at Ben Kaspick. And if you like this show, please consider rating it, leaving a review, liking, commenting, subscribing, all of that good stuff. So thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again on Monday. We are still daily despite the lockout. So thanks again for listening. Have a great weekend. You are now Locked On Giants.